Many people believe that you need hundreds of units to be successful in real estate.
When the reality is, you really only need to have a few.
You can literally buy one a year over the next 5 years and be successful.
I mean, think about it. You buy one multifamily property, one 3-family house every year.
That's 15 units.
It's a 5-year path to freedom.
Boom. I like it.
I like it. We should use that.
All right, we should.
All right.
All right, as always, this is the Flippin' Landlord Ninja.
Kevin the Property Prince.
And we are Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
Two guys take on real estate.
So we want to talk today about buying multifamilies, but not buying hundreds of units. Just start small.
Yeah, the amount of people that talk to us through YouTube and all of our social media platforms tell us that they're overwhelmed with what they're going to need to do to be successful in real estate.
It's very daunting trying to think of hundreds and hundreds. When we first started off, do you think that we didn't think about 500 units? We were thinking, wow, can we just get to 20?
Yeah, absolutely. And man, I mean, we made it happen pretty quickly
Yep.
overall. But, you know, the bottom line is you need to set small, reasonable goals for yourself. And I don't even think it's that small of a goal, really, to say, buy one house a year. It's easy.
It's actually quite easy, especially if you just take it in small steps. And once you understand how to do it the first time, honestly, it's just rinse and repeat. I mean, and then it's just the hard part will be finding the deal.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is getting started, buying that first 3-family house. Guys, you're going to have to jump in at some point. Believe us, we're in the water. The water's fine. Jump on in.
Yep. Stop analysis paralysis and actually get out there and, you know, kind of close on that first deal.
But think about it. Think about that kind of a pace. You buy a 3-family house. Maybe you're buying it in good turnkey condition. Maybe you're doing some fixing,
Yep.
you know, and then you fill it with tenants. You rent it out. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of initial work, but after you've got that down, that house is kind of coasting.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, so if you're buying a 3-family house, that let's just say is profiting about $300 a unit, that's $900 a month profit from that unit. If everything's all turnkey, you've you know, renovated everything, you got the heating system, you know, new roof, all that stuff's been taken care of, that property's probably set at least for the next 10 years.
Oh, I mean, for sure. And $300 a unit is not even that much. I mean, it could be way more. I mean, even if you went with something as much as $350 a unit, and you did that every year, bought one property, one 3-family house every year for 5 years. At the end of that 5-year plan, you're making over $60,000 a year on just positive cash flow. That's not touching a couple of things.
You're right. That's not touching on a few things that most people don't know about. I mean, often everyone's thinking paycheck to paycheck, and they're like, this is what came in for rent. This is what I paid out. This is what I had left over.
Yeah, they want to know what the cash flow is. They're so focused on that.
Exactly. The great thing about real estate is that you can actually have so many tax benefits. So there's a lot of things like depreciation. So you'll be able to actually keep more of that. So Uncle Sam's not taking all that.
That's 100% right. And guess what else the rents are paying on the property while you're renting it out?
Principal payments.
That's right. They're paying down your mortgage. So you're making every time you make a mortgage payment, they're making your mortgage payments for you. You're actually building equity. It's going into an equity savings account for yourself. Maybe a retirement fund if you want to call it that.
Yep. And then also, I mean, not all the time, but often you're getting appreciation. So that's something that you're not even thinking about. But the market in general, there is appreciating time over time. If you're looking at the long haul, and obviously there's going to be ups and downs throughout the years, but in general, real estate appreciates because there's only so much of it. They're not really making any more land.
No, they stopped that. Thank you, Mark Twain. Exactly. And don't forget, you can also adjust the rents. So maybe over the span of that 5 years or the 10 or 20 years you might own these properties, you can adjust the rents up, do small little increases every year on these properties. So you went from making maybe $350 a month in cash flow. Pretty soon, maybe you're making $4 or even $450 a month in cash flow, not including all the equity that you're building.
True. Now, you always, of course, want to make sure when you're doing all of your numbers that you're actually allocating also something for some kind of cap improvements. And a cap improvement is a large rehab, let's just say your roof. That generally you're looking at least a 20 to 30 year lifespan. So when you buy it, it's brand new. You're going to want to put a certain amount aside that in 20 or so years, you're going to want to replace that. Same with like a water heater, maybe as a 5 to 7 year replacement. Your heating systems, maybe 10 to 12. These are things that you're going to want to take a portion of the rent to put aside to make sure it's not all of a sudden a big, huge surprise that you're coming. As well as in general, you will have some small maintenance throughout the years. And if you're managing it yourself, you're kind of keeping that cost starting out, you'll be able to kind of maybe do a lot of the work, but you'll have to buy some, maybe a toilet flapper or, a sash hinge or something like that over the years that you'll just have to, purchase here and there with your local Home Depot or hardware store.
That's 100% right. And remember, you're going to be managing these properties yourself. So as part of your analysis before you buy these properties, you want to factor that type of thing in, all the different costs of improvements, capital improvements on the properties, as well as potentially budgeting for the cost of doing property management and staffing that out. Remember, this is something you can pace and build on your own schedule. We're just talking about a 5-year path to freedom here. So if you wanted to do it faster, you could. And at the end of that 5 years, if you wanted to keep going, maybe that's when you start handing off and staffing out your
delegating,
portfolio.
exactly. Learning to leverage other people's time so you can leverage your time better. So maybe you're crushing it as far as finding deals, and there's enough cash flow for you to maybe, if you want, leave your normal full-time 9-to-5 job. You can now focus on just finding new property, having a property management company running that for you, while you're just looking and basically tapping into some of that equity potentially through lines of credit or like a cash out refinance, and then you're buying more property to scale that way. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to sit back, relax, enjoy the cash flow, and have that savings account, like Kevin was saying, building up for years to come. Eventually, when the mortgage is all paid off, you're making even more money now as far as your cash flow. So you're crushing it there. And maybe you don't need more money. Maybe you're completely comfortable. You don't need more living expenses, and you're just happy where you're at.
Right. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have an income of $40,000 a month, coming into your bank account. Most people will be very, very happy simply replacing their regular old $60,000 a year job and be working for themselves, which means working around your own schedule, maybe staffing out the ability, for you to have to manage the property and give that away to somebody else. So if you're making over $60K just in cash flow on these properties, you can hand off management to someone else and just kind of sit back, and now you're financially free. If you want to work and get a job, guess what? It's your choice.
Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about money. It's not about buying all the great stuff. It's actually buying you time. And I think that's the most important thing that you should be considering is your time, because that's the most valuable asset we all have. We only have so much of it on this earth. And so I think that's really important to consider.
Think about it this way. Start with buying 1 3-family house every year. Put yourself on a 5-year path to financial freedom. And if you decide you want to choose to work, could you imagine right now, could you imagine in 5 years that if you go to work, you're doing it because you want to, not because you have to?
And because hopefully you actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, think of the smile on your face when you're coming and going from work, knowing that you're not stuck in a job. You're not forced to have to do this, work with people or a boss you might hate, right? You're doing this because you choose to and you want to.
Exactly. Or you might want to leave that job and find something else that you really enjoy doing, whatever it might be, doing some kind of charity or just traveling the world.
I know what they can do with all their newfound free time.
What can they do?
They can watch more of our YouTube content, like videos like this one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Take care and best of luck out there. Get started today.